All right, hello, my fellow future teachers, my cardinals flying high, soaring above the sky. It is my pleasure to be with you remotely. I would love to be with you in person, or even in a format where I can see you and hear from you. But that's okay, because as educators, we make it do what it do. We make sure that we still share the love either way, whether it be virtually or in person. So, with that being said, let's talk about what's our objective. What's the point of us getting together? And today we're going to talk about displaying objectivity and control. Okay. Um, by the end of this, hopefully you will have seen some practical examples of how you can show control and be objective in your teaching assignments, whether it be, whether it's you just TE 100, whether you're actually in your field work before you get there, whether you're just substitute teaching or working as a tutor or what have you, whatever capacity that you are fortunate enough to steward over right now, that you'll be able to use some of these things, or at least they'll trigger some things in your mind and plant seeds for future use. All right, so let's go. And I have to move this little image of myself because it's odd to look at yourself all day. That's just doing a lot. But when we talk about displaying objectivity and control, it says what that means is, and this is by Marzano, once again, trying to move this thing. It says, it means you don't view your students as friends or as enemies, but as learners. And I want to unpack that a little bit with paraphrasing Grace, because this may not be exactly what Marzano meant. But when you think about it, sometimes when we take things really personal, and our students do things and we're like offended, like, really? I don't believe you just said that to me. And it's just like, okay, keep in mind, these are your learners. Okay, these aren't your friends and these aren't your enemies. And sometimes on the relational spectrum, especially with new teachers, you either go in super friendly and you want to build relationships with students, which is amazing and that you need to do. But at the same time, you kind of have this comfortable level with them, and it's almost like you have this need to be liked and to please, right? And that can be with, not just with your students, the people you work with, what have you, where your self-esteem is really tightly connected to having this image of like fishing, and there's that real where sometimes you have to pull it in because you're casting out this information and you want the kids to grab onto it, and then when they don't, and you think you got a tug and you pull it and you're like, that's seaweed, that is not a fish, that's not a student, what's happening, and you get frustrated. And that teacher frustration can cause you to go from this very friendly teacher, a friendish, and then there's the enemy range where you're not the full blown like trying to come after them and shut the world down like Thanos, but you are like, you become that frenemy type person because it's just like, And I don't know if people will actually tell you this, but sometimes the push for test scores and having proficient learners and 100% engagement and all of these things that you may be that may be thrust upon you, that you feel like you have to do in student teaching or your first year of teaching, because that's what I do, by the way. I work with brand new teachers. And they're just like overwhelmed with all of the stuff they have to do. And it becomes where they start off really friendly with their students, but when their students don't reciprocate that friendliness, like, oh, okay, like I'm gonna ask a question, I'm gonna answer a question, I'm gonna turn in my assignment, I'm gonna be respectful of my communication. When the students don't do that, and we're not gonna even talk about when the students just flat out have behavior that's just, not the behavior you would, I'm trying to figure out. I used to be really good at figuring out ways to say stuff really nice. And then I kind of got rusty with it. Non-compliant responses. Then you're just like, really? And then you forget you're the teacher for a second in a way, because then you're like, oh, okay. So you're just gonna, okay, right. You're just gonna call me out my name, or you're just gonna, okay, all right. And you slowly see the unraveling and that moving away from the friendly teacher to the, you know what, you guys, fine. And that's when you get these things like, we're not going out for recess ever. It's like, okay, like when did we go into Marvel Universe? And like now you're like shutting down, dimensions. What is happening? You're no longer being objective. Now you're using your control in a way to hurt kids. because now you've pulled the authority, you're no longer just being assertive. Now you're being like, okay, I have this control and I'm going to show you how much power I have. You know what? I told you guys to turn that in. I know and in the back of your mind, the policy says the kids have 24 hours to turn something in late or whatever, but you're like, you know what? I'm sick of this. This is ridiculous. 20 out of 24 people did not turn it in. I went over it. You had a PowerPoint, you had a study guide, and like half of you failed it. Are you serious? When those words start coming out, you realize you are no longer objectively just the teacher and these are the learners. Now it's turning into something different. Now you're personalizing it. Now it's just like, you all, and it's just like, whoa, come back, And at that point, you can never go back to the full friend because now they're looking like, oh, this is the real you. We were waiting, especially the older the children are, or the older the students are, they've got more practice being students than you have being a teacher. So they're just waiting for the actual authentic you to come out. And they know it's only going to come out in a high stress situation. They realize your happy first month of school, or hey, I'm new, you guys, welcome. My name is, especially when you do stuff like this, you can just call me Miss Shauna. You don't have to use my last name. And you start off like super casual, which is fine. I'm not like trying to convict anybody or anything. Whatever that is for your school district or what they prefer. Hey, you can call me Miss Shauna, or just call me Sam. Like, okay. And then, you start off that, okay, I just want you guys to have a great day. I have some stuff planned for you. I hope you guys really enjoy it. You have that like lightheartedness in your voice. That's like the sing-songy thing where you can do an album. Translation for people who are too young to understand what an album is. I'm not going to generationally like insult you. I'm sure you know what an album is. And then you go into the, you know what? I've had it. You know what, you guys, this is ridiculous. Seriously. And then you're using nonverbal language, and then you become almost parental in your tone. So you switched from the hey song to now you're parental, and what happens in their mind is they were waiting to see where it was going to go because it started too good. It's like the honeymoon phase, like, yeah, this is great. Yep. Just waiting. And then when that other voice comes out, because you've kind of went too far this way, when you use that parental voice, regardless of their age, I don't care if they're sophomores, juniors in high school, when you use the parent voice, the kid in them comes out. And typically when a parent is trying to guide or redirect a child, they innately have this like rebellious, like, well, because kids at some point think their parents are dumb and like they're just doing more than they need to actually be doing. It's like you're overthinking that, you're over responding, blocking you out. So we have to be careful as educators that we remain educators and they are our learners, and we keep it in that vein. And that is not easy at all, especially depending on what they do or what they say. I've had first graders say things and you're like, what? Like, you guys, I've taught kindergarten up to 8th grade, and I've had kindergartners tell me stuff that messed me up just as much as my 8th graders, where it was like, oh, I remember making the mistake and telling my 8th graders, you guys, we could talk, anything you want to talk about is fine. Because I'm like the young teacher. I'm like, I get it. There's some things you can't talk about with your parents. Feel free. We were doing science, and I think it was asexual reproduction. And for whatever reason, the young lady, 7th grade, decided to be like, okay, I have a question. And I'm like, sure, go ahead. Oh, safe place, safe-based environment. She goes, so if I'm on top, when I'm having sex and riding him, is it true I can't get pregnant because gravity will bring the sperm down? I'll be honest. At that point, it was just like, oh man, that's not the question, the scenario, or the visual, because I'm so visual. And I'm just like, wasn't prepped for that one. And literally my response probably was really bad. What I said was, honey, which don't call your kid, I don't know. But I was like, honey, you're probably pregnant now. Because if you were on top, he probably was so excited that I'm pretty sure the sperm just, you might want to go get checked now. But that's not true. Gravity does not pull that's not how that goes at all. Keep in mind, we're in a classroom full of boys. It's like literally there was like 3 girls in the classroom. And it's like 15 students. Majority of them were guys. My numbers may be a little off, but once again, I'm traumatized from the experience. I can't accurately remember data correctly. Like quantities are off. But I was like, but that's just an example of how you have to, and we're going to get to diffusers in a minute. You have to be prepared in advance because they're going to come at you with some stuff and you're going to be like, where, so the goal of this slide is, okay, so take your notes. Okay, by the way, take your hand, put it on a piece of paper, trace it. Okay, this is what I do to keep my littles engaged. And so for one of your fingers, I want you to write the word frenemy, and that's going to be your trigger word to remember that I don't want to ever be a frenemy. Okay, what's a frenemy? Frenemy. It says a person or group that is friendly toward another because relationship brings benefits, but harbors feelings of resentment or rivalry. I am telling you, warning, ding, ding, ding. You will become a frenemy to your students if you don't take inventory of your own triggers and have preparations for when things go horribly wrong. Like that experience, I was not prepared for. Nothing. I had not know it was mentorship. There's no class on that. But I have realized teachers go from being like bribing students to make them do right. And when the students don't do right or do what the teachers want or whatever, then the teachers go to straight bullies. Oh, really? We're not doing this. We can't do this. I'm taking away this privilege. The class party's canceled. It's just like such no talking, silent for an hour. Blah, 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 and it's just like, that wasn't even your original plan. You got triggered and you created this discipline mechanism that's not even in your procedures or guidelines. You just randomly pull this stuff out of your frustration. So you have these feelings of resentment because they did fail. And what's the root of that? It's kind of prideful because you're like, I taught this, I put this time in and they didn't get it. And this is making me look bad. And it hurts. And so then you're like, these students, and you can tell when a teacher has hit frenemy phase when you hear them say things like, and they don't want to be in frenemy phase, so be graceful and loving, but when you hear them say stuff like, and these kids, like they're the enemy, these kids don't want to do anything, the parents don't help. Now the parents are the enemies too, because now they're your rivals. They're the people against you. They're the people who don't help you. They make you look bad. They make your life complicated. When you realize they're the whole reason you're doing anything that you're doing on your job. They're your mission, right? They're the daily objective. They're not the thing that inhibits you from reaching the objective. They are the objective. So just be careful. In your little hand you draw, if you like to draw colors, get your markers out, whatever. You can even write it real pretty. Enemy. But put a sad face next to it like that. Like, I'm going to be a friend of me. So that's why you want to display objectivity and control. I promise the rest of this to go a little faster. Maybe I should make that promise, but whatever. It'll be a part 2. So we talk about rules and relationships. So there's this balance between rules and relationship because you need both. But everything is how you say stuff. And I want you to think about like the GPS in your car. And so like you put in this, direction. I wanted to get to such and such. And it's like, okay, I don't know if that's the word or not. But, and then it tells you, okay, turn right, turn left on so-and-so. And 30, whatever it gives you in the quarter of a mile, turn south on. And you're like, south, is that right or left? Like, that's why we need to learn. Never mind. But what happens is when you go the wrong way, it's objective. It'll just say, turn left on Mackinac, because it realizes you went the way that it told you not to go, but its objective is, I need you to go this way. So it doesn't waste time saying, hey, you just turned the wrong way. You that was dumb. Or why did you turn the wrong way? Where are you going? Is there a problem? Do we need to talk? Your GPS doesn't do that. Your GPS immediately says, it redirects. Turn left on Hoyt, whatever. Continue so-and-so. The voice tone doesn't change on the GPS. It's not condescending. It doesn't ask you questions. And sometimes, like, I know that's not a real person, but it's just a consistent thing you can expect. It's not going to lower your self-esteem. Where sometimes we'll have these rules, we have objectives where we're going to go with our lesson, and we totally lose the objectives off of students' behavior. And then we start to damage our relationships with them because instead of redirecting, okay, class, today I'm going to have you, go ahead and put your first and last name on your paper and then number your paper 1 to 5. Thank you. I'm going to give you about, 1 minute to do that while I walk around and, check for such and such. Shut up, walk around, check for such, whatever you're checking for. I didn't mean to say shut up. Be quiet. My grandma says, shut your face, and do what you're going to do. Keep your word and then check back. If you have a child who is not doing that, okay, then say, repeat it in close proximity, or socially distanced proximity with a mask. Robert, just as a reminder, it's 1 through 5. You can put it right up underneath your name. Do you need and here's an extra pencil if you need one, as opposed to, where's your pencil? You see he don't have a pencil. Walk over there with a pencil. Like, why are you making this a thing? It's like, don't. This little boy was on this YouTube video and he was like, they being petty, they not ready. Don't be petty and have a whole discourse over, where's your pencil? Why don't you bring pencils? You guys need to be more responsible. Oh my gosh, why? Why? You're wasting instructional time. You're losing the focus of your objective. You just needed them to number their papers so you could get into the meat of your lesson. What are you doing? You don't have time for this. You're going to trigger this kid. You're going to embarrass them. They're not going to do the assignment, even when they do find a pencil. Just like, this is not a time to teach responsibility for like wooden mechanical utensils. That's why you guys have a budget at school or there's a dollar store. Like, seriously. Maintain the relationship and keep on going with your redirection. All right, boom, boom. And keep it moving. Trust me, save yourself time. I wish somebody would have told me this before I started teaching, because I wasted way too much time doing these little sermon preaching things where I was no longer objective, and I messed up relationships that I could have used as leverage to really help my students increase in the actual objectives. I gave up a lot of instructional time for for nothing. All right, so I think this might be where I stop it. There is a part 2, and you're like, Chef, are you for real? No, I'm not for real. Yeah, kind of. Quick thing, listen to what is and what's not being said. I had a communication professor said, I hear what you're saying, but what are you not saying? And I was like, what? Dude, this is a 100 level class. You're going a little deep. But what it's saying is sometimes students will do things and we need to really listen. They may say, well, I don't care. Okay, so they don't care about the assignment. So-and-so, you didn't turn your so-and-so in, you're going to get such and such if you don't turn it in. Well, I don't care. And you're like, okay, that's what they said, but what are they not saying? What does I don't care really mean? So you have to take some time to, in advance, unpack what does I don't care? When you say I don't even care in your college classes, what does that really mean? It never means you don't care. It means like I'm frustrated, like I'm tired, like I tried and I'm not seeing results. I'm exhausted. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm insecure. I'm embarrassed. I'm just like, I feel like I'm done, but I need this grade. I need to get this assignment done. I want to learn what we're talking about. I'm just, it never means you don't actually care. The same thing in K-12 education. When a kid says, I don't care, they do. Okay, you guys, I said, I'm taking a recess. I don't care. It's their default word because they have limited language to deal with conflicts and to deal with people in authority who takes things from them that they can't get back. That's the best they got. So that can't be a trigger for you if you're being objective and displaying, control. You can't let that limiting language for them be a trigger for you, and you're like, oh, you don't care? Well, guess what? I don't care either. Or you should care. It's just like, no, you should grow up and be quiet because you're the adult. Calm yourself. You falling into the frenemy range, and that don't even come with benefits. So in your next finger, just put a number 2 and put the word listen, like double listen. Hear what they're saying, but hear what they're not saying, and take the time to, and that doesn't mean you interview every student. That just means in advance realize when they say certain things, they're really saying a layer of other things that they cannot verbalize. So really, really listen and like take your time. So here are some practical steps. We talked about frenemy. We talked about listening. Okay, practical steps when you start your day off to help you display objectivity and control. 1, and you can use this for your hand, or you can put them in the middle with a heart, or you can not write them at all. You do you. Seriously, calm yourself. Objectivity and control can come off as you just being calm and direct. It's not even nothing fancy. Like, you don't need special professional development. Calm yourself. 1, when you wake up in the morning, before you go into the field, before you go into your classroom, already decide, what's your daily objective? My objective is to go in and to care about my students. My objective is to go in and, you know, give my best self to my students. And I'm not going to be triggered throughout the day. I'm not going to beat my own butt. I'm not going to kick my, you know, I'm not going to look at everything that I'm going to look at what's working, and I'm going to reflect on what's not working. And then I'm going to pick one or two things to target. Whatever it is, decide in the beginning of the day how you're going into your day. Prep yourself, right? 2, slow down. Don't react quick. You don't have to have a response. A child can say something to you and you can be like, okay. So I'm gonna give you some quick diffusers, and there's a list. I think I'm gonna try to attach and give to Mackenzie so she can give you guys. But there's diffusers where it's just like a child says something like, so-and-so, you know, Robert rubbed his booger on me, and you're like, okay. In your mind, literally give yourself time to think. Don't be like, Robert, are you serious? That is nasty. You know what? Get out. That's just, I will write up your referral. Why would you do that? Like, are you serious? No, you can't. Don't do all that. Calm, direct. Think about it. Honey, go grab that tissue, wipe the booger off, get some hand sanitizer, like use your tissue, use your sanitizer. If you want to, go to the bathroom and wash your hands. All right, I'm going to talk to Robert. I'll talk to Robert. I want you to make sure you feel clean, okay? Thank you for sharing. Robert, we'll talk after this lesson, okay? Thank you. Calm and direct. Because you need time to figure out, like, Robert, but you can't do the face in front of Robert because, like, you're the teacher. Calm, direct. I'm not even saying that was the proper way to handle that situation. I'm just saying it's okay if you have to be like, she can come right up to you and be just like, say something, and you be like, okay. My favorite diffuser is, okay, I hear you. Can you give me some time to think about that one? I'll get back with you. Thank you so much for telling me, though. I really need to think about that, okay? But I do hear you. And I'm not saying those are magic words. I'm saying those words give you time to think and not to say something or to react in an unobjective way, or to come out of yourself or prematurely respond. It just gives you that time to be like, it gives you time to seek wise counsel and be like, you know, what is our policy on mucus exchange from one student? It was not consensual. You know, whatever, like, ask, I don't know. Number 3, speak calmly. That's why you need time to slow down. Because going, okay, I hear you. Like, literally breathe. Do your 1, 2, 3, 4 count? All right. Even if you're just talking to yourself, give yourself 10 seconds of think time. Like, we give kids 10 seconds of like process time before we have them answer a question or whatever. We have to do that for ourselves sometimes to help us remain control. Like, and I mean like self-control, like that. Okay. Are you okay? No, I'm not okay. Okay. I am so sorry you went through that. Can I really want to be able to respond correctly. Can I talk to you after this lesson, or can I talk to you at recess and check back with you, and then you can give me some of your thoughts? Yeah, okay. Thank you so much. I'm not saying that's a perfect thing to do, once again, but it will keep you from saying some stuff that you didn't mean to say. You know, because especially if you find out like Robert isn't the one who put the booger on her, she spit on him, and then, you know, he did something else back, or such and such is the one who had the booger, or it wasn't a booger, it was applesauce that was dried up and he flicked it at her because whatever. Like, you don't actually know the facts behind this, and children will indirectly sabotage your instruction and come up with this stuff in the midst of you teaching like improper fractions, and you're like, you know how hard it was for me to prepare for this lesson, and then y'all gonna come at me with some foolishness. Like, they purposely do some of this. Some of it they don't, and some of it they like literally do. You'll notice how many like distractions you get when you're teaching like rigorous content, because they're like, somebody do something quick, somebody throw a pencil, somebody fart, anything to make her stop teaching, because this is hard and challenging. So just slow down. 4 and 5, breathe. We talked about that. Taking it inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it. Exhale, 4 seconds. Okay. Because you're modeling for them too on how to respond and not to always react. So they're seeing that too, and they need to see that for some of them, especially if they have families where they don't get to see people processing before reacting. They need to see that. So, and then 5, prepare yourself. Like I said, I prepare myself with diffuser comments. They are free and seem really simple, but you know, just like the lady in the picture, it's like, okay, honey, she's not addressing the whole classroom. She's going to give her, but she's prepared because she knows she can't give the whole lesson time away to deal with this issue. But to this child, this issue is everything. This is like the biggest thing that has happened in their day, and they're not going to learn until you address it. So they need to know something. So have your preparation speech, and I got that from Love and Logic. It was just, I hear what you guys are saying. We can talk at recess, or I'd be happy to talk with you after school, but we'll schedule some time to talk where you can have my full attention. And they're like, okay. And sometimes they're like, well, never mind, it's not this serious. Especially if it was during recess time. They're like, they didn't want to give up recess time to talk about it. Or if it truly was something really heavy on their little hearts or minds, they'd be like, okay. And you're like, all right, thank you so much. And then they were able to move on. So I don't know how long I've been going because I think Mackenzie gave me like a timer. I don't want to abuse that time. So I think I'll wrap up with this, with that be prepared thing. You have to have emergency exits. Just like with anything, they're like, okay, the bathrooms are there. It's in case of emergency, you exit this way. You have to know how to exit some situations. And I gave you an example of one situation I didn't know how to exit because I'm like, what? And no, you can't prepare for everything, but you can respond to misbehavior. And I'm just going to reiterate, here's a site you can go to help you remain calm and respond when a student is being outright challenging. And you guys, I would encourage you, it's only 8 pages, but it helps you really, and it says like calm is contagious and silence is powerful. I watched this with my son. There was a student who said, they were on the virtual meet, and the student said something like, Miss So-and-so, Robert is always interrupting. He needs to be quiet, he's distracting or something. And the teacher just went into perfect silence. I was like, it is helpful when we all focus on sharing the same ideas. Now, keep in mind, this week, you'll be turning in and it was like, oh my gosh, I want to send this man like fruit that's dipped in chocolate. He did the thing. Like he stayed calm. He used the power of silence. He thought about what he was going to say, and he did not lose the objective in mind. He did not let that moment like hijack, what he was doing. So he was very mindful and like, nope, So I was like, that's what I'm talking about. Kudos to my fellow educators, doing their thing. But it talks about that wait time to model cognition. Kids need to see that, okay, no, it takes time for me to think. It says teachers have reported experiences where the silent period, usually only 5 to 9 seconds, causes a child to throw up his hands in defeat and say something like, well, fine, I'll do this even though it's dumb. So sometimes even when you don't even say anything, it is powerful. And it says when they ask the students, well, your teacher didn't say anything, she was just quiet, why did you just go back to your seat? And they were like, because they envisioned that the teacher was plotting a bigger consequence. And so when they say silence is golden, sometimes it really is work. Sometimes you don't even have to give this quick response. They'll just be like, if anything else, it buys you time to think. And then it talks about avoiding power struggles. You guys, I'm telling you, this is like teacher gold. Please take your time, because these are some things that, this is the phrase they use. They say conflict is inevitable. You're going to have conflict, but they says combat is optional. That's for real, you guys. I have done it, and I have seen teachers go to combat with kids where it's just like, who are you talking to? Where I've worked in a lot of different settings, whether it was urban or suburban, wherever, I've never really worked in a rural area, but I'm sure it can't be that different because kids are kids wherever you go for the most part. And adults are adults, and some adults will come to a kid's level real quick because they're already dealing with a lot, and they already come to work like already ready to be triggered because they're dealing with so much emotional baggage and stress. And when they come, it's like literally it does not take much at all. They're like kindling, just waiting for a flame, and they're flammable, like they're easily set on fire. And so you have to be careful because they're more likely to get into a power struggle with the student. So just be really, really careful. just be careful. So take the time to go through that. I won't go through it right now. I'm trying to value your time. But this is the list of diffusers. Pick your favorite ones and roll with it. So, for example, you have a student who goes, well, this is boring, and it says the teacher simply replied, okay. That's one of my favorite ones. And it says, nevertheless. And then the 10 just kept teaching without interruption. And they're like, nevertheless, what? Was it a teacher profanity? What does nevertheless mean? Just like, well, this is still something we need to accomplish. So turn to page 4. It's just like, no, because you know your objective. You know what you're trying to accomplish. And you're not taking that as a personal attack. Your voice isn't escalating. Your emotions, your heart rate's not going up because you're like, Because why? You're prepped. You are ready. You knew this was coming. You knew some kid was going to say some stuff. This is stupid. I don't want to do this. This is dumb. You dumb. School doesn't matter. My mama said, and you're like, okay, all right. My mama not good at math, so she said she ain't pressed. Okay. All right. We have, understood. Right now, we are going to decompose this number. And what that means is we're going to start just teach through it, go, like teach. Don't get trapped. Diffuse it and keep teaching. Keep on moving. It's like when you see those people in those movies and there's the bomb. It's like, do I cut the red wire or the blue wire? One wire will blow us up. The other one will stop the time and we'll be safe. You better know which wire you're cutting, because you come at the wrong situation, any situation, the wrong way, you blow it up, or you can diffuse it. Diffuse it! Because you don't know how much damage, collateral damage, or relationship damage that's going to cause. So these are awesome diffusers. I'll go through a couple. It says, oh, I see that. Good point. Perhaps. I feel you. I'm careful when I feel you because I don't feel them. I don't want to lie. But sometimes I do feel them, especially with my college students when they're telling me stuff professors did. I'm like, I feel you because literally I had to happen. But I understand your point because they do have a point. It may be totally illogical. They do have a point though. Thank you for your observation. Well, why can't we? You'll find out shortly because maybe you just haven't got to it yet. This is so hard. It gets better. I like that one. I've never used that one, but I'm gonna try that one. This one says, wait, it gets better. And it's just there's some of these that sound a little too trendy for me because I'm in my mid-40s. I'm not going to be saying, oh, snap. That don't even sound like something I would say to a kid. Some of these songs like The Rock or Dwayne Johnson, it says, I can smell what you're cooking. That sounds crazy to me. And I'm not trying to use that word flip either, but I wouldn't say that. But something like, I see your point. Thank you for sharing. We'll talk later. I'm sorry you feel that way. Can we talk at recess? Or we can talk at recess. Duly noted. I hear you. So you've heard some of mine. Well, she always eat everything. Well, just the same. We're going to do questions 1 through 3. And here's something if you need it. And it's just that. But those are some, and it gives you about the idea about the art of diffusing, about how timing is everything. But literally, the student presents you with this challenging verbiage or whatever, or attitude, you diffuse it, you move on. Get out of there. It's get out of the situation. Defuse the bomb and go. Don't just sit there with it in your hand hey, it didn't blow up. No. Move on. Why? Because you have a whole class who is watching this episode that's going on. It's literally, teaching is literally reality TV before reality TV. Because you have this huge audience that's always watching, looking for the next episode. Hey, look over it. Ooh, watch this. Let's see. Stay tuned. I think so-and-so is going to, get in trouble for throwing a ball because they're looking for the next episode to avoid the channel they're supposed to be watching, which is your instruction, if they're not engaged in the instruction. And sometimes they even are, and they'll just randomly have these tangent moments. So that is it for today. But once again, that's a really good article, and I think that's all I have for you today. I always end stuff by saying thank you guys so much for the opportunity to share with you. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. Mackenzie will give you my email. I love questions. Or if you ever want to sit in on one of our new teacher academies, you are so welcome. We have them pretty much every month. Our last one is going to be actually in April. I think you guys are going to watch this in March, maybe. So if you want to attend our final new teacher academy and talk to some teachers after their very first year of teaching and see how it was and get some tips from them, you're more than welcome to attend. Just let me know. And have an awesome day. And I'm trying to figure out how to make the thing stop. What you would think? Come on, Shan, you do this a lot. Make it stop. All right. Thank you.